Welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Tim.
I'm Juliet.
Romance is in the air, or in the plane, when we're talking about star-crossed lovers of New Capenna. This is a little idea you've been doodling around on, and we're going to try to develop a little bit today.
Yeah, the kind of core idea is when you're going to return to a plane, with, I think, the exception of Return to Ravnica, you want some extra thing that you're doing. So Wilds of Eldraine, we got this like heavy storybook element. It also, we're leaving the courts where like the thrones and everything are.
And I think Capenna is like reasonably ripe for that because the original theming of like demon mafia world, like only kind of halfway got there. A lot of the most famous cards from that set were angels, and so having an extra flavor layer on there could make some sense.
And I'm in a very Shakespeare-y mood. And my idea is not exclusively just let's do a planar overlay of Romeo and Juliet onto New Capenna, but it is close to that. It is deriving from these kind of origins. The idea of, well, what if we looked at, I mean, we saw a wedding set in the form of Crimson Vow that was Vampire Wedding and doing its things. But what if we look at, you know, the magic story could be about a particular angel and a particular demon who aren't supposed to be together, who like find love together, and like it could be a little Twilighty, you know, it can be across any of these various things, but we can also pull from the idea of star-crossed lovers and the idea of Romeo and Juliet, where, you know, people love to talk to me, meet me for the first time and be like, I bite my thumb at thee. This is the thing that people do.
There's a bunch of fun tropes there. Let's apply it to something that's like kind of modern, a plane that's like a little bit modern, because that might fit the Shakespearean setting.
And we can kind of cross between the like Italian Americana of the sort of like mafia crime story and the Italian like sort of setting of with these like big families. Like families are a big part, feuding families. The Montagues and the Capulets or different things are a big part of that sort of story. And while we have the families of New Capenna, is it going to be for everyone? Maybe not. Hopefully it mechanically pulls through. But I think there's promise there rather than just saying this is New Capenna too.
And so you have even sketched out a first set of faction mechanics, I guess you'd say, the five families. They got 5 factions. I guess maybe the first time around we had to do a lot of work, or Wizards had to do a lot of work to just establish what the factions were. And now it could be more like, hey, we kind of already know what they are. We want those things to show up, but also let's like pick a couple characters per faction to really build up the family, build up the relationship between characters and how they relate to each other.
Yeah. Let's start at the top of the color pie and think about Bant as a color scheme, thinking about white and blue with some green, the brokers who had like shield counters and lots of different counters as their kind of big marquee mechanic. And I'm pushing all of that out of the room. I'm just saying, no, you cannot return.
3 shield. Oh, we're doing 0 shield counters.
We're doing 0 shield counters. My current schema is this is a token set, not a counter set. I like to kind of do one or the other to a certain extent, just because from a bookkeeping perspective, I would rather have, we can do complexity along these things, and the dice that are sitting on the table represent either tokens or they represent counters, and that. And so the mechanic I'm bringing back is, it's so much more popular than counters, a thing everybody loves. It's Soul Bond.
Okay. Soul Bond. I guess Soul Bond originally was just like, we are 2 holy warriors. You guys want to team up to help Avacyn? Sure, let's do it. And whereas Soul Bond could be romantic, it could even be like being admitted into a crime family. You weren't born into it, but you could like pledge allegiance or do something to become part of it.
And the brokers have a focus on contract magic. And I'm like, great. that
Okay.
easily
Yeah.
translates into like marriages and partnerships and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And
Mhm.
you can talk about we have these two scions from these like not
Mm.
the big families, but like mini families that were these two companies, the youngest members were getting them to marry together, or
Mm.
a little bit of like Bonnie and Clyde, Thelma Louise, sort of, hey, you and I against the world doing
Mm.
doing silly sort of stuff. I think Soul Bond has potential to be redeemed, and I think it makes a lot of sense for a set that is thematically about sets of two coming together in different
Yeah,
ways.
yeah. Yeah, we had that in, Crimson Vow. There was a couple Borosi cards that wanted to, like, pair up creatures, and I
Mhm.
think that could be expanded. That was a fun hit, and that was something that it would be great to see more of.
Can we imagine that we have better information on magic design and or better design
Yeah.
sensibilities since Avacyn Restored came out?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
I'd
I
say
think
so.
that's plausible, at
Yeah.
least. It's a potential. And then I
Yeah.
was like, well, Soul Bond is a 9 on
Oh, is
the
it?
storm scale.
Oh, wow. Storm scale. Soulbond and Avacyn Restored, I would say some of the problems in how they deployed it were that a lot of the Soulbond bonuses were not relevant. And so you
Mhm,
had sort of the haves and haves nots on the Soulbond cards. Some of them are quite good. Hey, both creatures get +2/+2. And some of them are like
mhm,
kind of weak or combo-y, like both creatures can pay a bunch of mana to untap themselves. And so you you just design or use Soulbond in better ways than it was before.
mhm,
I think another piece that probably helps Soul Bond is that creatures are overall a little bit larger, and there's like a greater emphasis on making sure creature combat is fun rather than just a board stall. And something that would help break board stalls or help make sure you don't have too many is bonuses that are conditional and bonuses that you can build up yourself or that your opponent can break apart in exciting ways.
mhm,
But it seems like there was some sort of pullback on the power level of a lot of the creatures to try
mhm.
to last minute like make the big angels playable. And I don't think there's quite as much of a concern of that here. We don't have to worry about our ground creatures outshining the like marquee cards in the set.
Mhm.
It's okay if our ground creatures are those are the main characters. Those are the characters we actually would like to be good.
And we can even put Soul Bond on some of the angels, which is like, wow, what
Yeah.
incredible cutting edge
Yeah.
tech. And so then I'm like, if we're trying to bring back mechanics that are a 9 on the storm
Hmm.
scale, let's look at we're going to jump forward in the color pie
Oh,
to
okay.
the Grixis sort of color scheme, thinking about black, red with a little bit of blue, the Maestros, and a mechanic
Mm.
that I think I've talked about before, a mechanic I've debuted before, but I'm still tweaking, Waltz, which then has a mana cost. And if you would draw a card, you may pay mana cost and mill 3 instead to cast a copy of this from your graveyard. Then exile this card.
Mm. So this is one time dredge.
Yes, this is
Okay.
one time dredge, and it always dredges 3
Oh, okay.
with the idea that it can fuel itself, but you are paying a cost for it.
And there's like a specific cost that's different, like flashback.
Yeah, so it'll be like, hey, one in a red, you can waltz this spell. And you're basically paying the mana cost, the card that you would draw, and 3 cards from your library into your graveyard. That last
Hmm.
part isn't really a cost. I mean, it is a cost, but it isn't
Yeah.
that's not gonna be the major thing. That's kind of a reward. But in a similar way to the jumpstart, you're kind of
Oh,
paying
yeah.
a card for this.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess paying the card also differentiates it from like embalm, which
Mhm,
is sort of creature flashback. By itself, like the mill is definitely upside,
mhm.
but it has other things working against it that will keep it in line.
Is this playing too safe to excite anyone who would be excited by Dredge?
No, I think that this also has a little bit of the vibe of like a cascade or something where I can't wait to see what I flip. I might flip just 3 lands or whatever. If you have enough waltz, if you have, let's say, 8 waltz cards in your deck, you have a reasonable chance of hitting another waltz card. And that is 3 cards means that it's probably not super likely. You aren't like automatically going to chain. I think it's exciting enough. And like, I don't need other mill cards in my set, probably, or not very many, but I could still have a graveyard theme, which is exciting. That you could just have a lot of natural mill running around.
One of my goals was to have some of the different like color pairs having different feelings while still doing these big kind of mechanics for each shard.
Yeah.
And wanting to have some graveyard focus in some ways for blue black and in other ways for black red.
Mm.
I thought, hey, this helps mill together. Then we've got a mechanic that can kind of fit into it as well. Going in between Bant and Grixis, that's Esper. That's the Obscura family, the blue, black, and some white. And their mechanic is Gossip. Draw a card, then discard a card. If you discarded a non-land card, and this sounds a lot like Connive so far, but then it's if you discarded a non-land card, create a 2/1 black and white artifact inkling creature token with flying and decayed.
Oh, you're being clever here. When you gossip, you have an inkling that something's happening.
And as the like information brokers and
Sure.
also journalists and everything, you can do gossip circulation and you can have little imagine a 1920s broadsheet sort of thing, but folded up into like a paper airplane.
Okay. With ink dripping off of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the writing. I mean, newspapers used to be, in Downton Abbey when they get the newspaper, the butler like irons it to get the ink to set so it doesn't
Oh.
because the ink would be just wet on this like extremely cheap flimsy paper.
Wow.
The journalist, the legitimate gossip, the the
Yeah.
gossip rag sort of idea. I think there's something to be played with there. And a question I have is, does making the little Decayed token a 2/1 flyer with Decayed rather than a 2/2 vanilla with Decayed, does that remove some of the fun of Decayed?
Yeah. I was skeptical at first because it feels more like this is 2 damage to the face almost every time. Whereas Decayed, that was the original Decayed token zombies.
Mhm.
Like those got through a third of the time, half the time. They had a natural attack. So they had more of the maybe the desirable vibe there was they had the ability to like get a lot of them because they're extremely cheap token. And so you could actually have the chump attack with zombies that works, which is very flavorful for zombies and like really a good fit for zombies. And this loses that, but maybe there are other pieces of it that are good. You can have things that care about things hitting or unblock creatures, or I don't know. There are probably other pieces that you can tie into.
Yeah. How well does this work with Soul Bond? Because it lets you get a quick
Hmm.
Soul Bond
Okay.
off and then remove this creature so that that creature is unpaired enough for the next
Uh,
one
yeah.
to come in. Because sometimes, oh, I soul bonded to this dinky little thing, and now I want to get to that next mid range threat. But instead, that sort of question is not yet settled.
Yeah. It's a little bit of the vibe of like I have a equipment that gives like +3/+0, and now I'm just
Mhm.
strapping that to like one chump creature at a time and attacking one turn after the other. I could have a soul bond creature that adds 2 power or adds like a power and a life link or whatever. And I'm just sending like one inkling through at a time and feeling like I'm, getting a little bit of a combo going.
Mhm. Another thing we could do is remove flying from this.
Hmm.
The original Inklings were 2/1 flying creatures, and so that's kind of part of where
Mm.
I started. And I was thinking, well, there's going to be a variety of angel-ish things around, and so they can help block things,
Mm.
or just like other kind of mid-sized flyers that could help be involved in the thing. But it's possible that removing flying would be the answer to
Mm.
do with this.
Yeah, the flying does give it a new feel compared to regular Decade. And I don't totally get the vibe that Obscura would be like surrounding people with a swarm of like four little newspaper monsters.
Mhm.
Um, but instead sending one or two scouts, through the air. Uh, and if it's a ground creature, it's going to be a little bit tough for it to be worth me discarding an on-land card. Like if I think I'm getting like a ground decayed zombie, I'm I'm kind of disappointed to be discarding a card, a playable card.
Mhm. And of course, the difference is between discarding a land and discarding a non-land, which is a pretty big difference in terms of actual play, but it's not between discarding a non-land and discarding nothing. Would be
Hmm.
the gap is different there. We
Hmm.
can, though, if we want to, and if the effects timing lines up, we could gossip, which allows us to draw a card.
Hmm.
Even if it's this looting, you're drawing and then discarding, which you could
Hmm.
then use to instead replace and trigger your waltz.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as you have also non-land stuff to discard, unless you want to discard a card with waltz to cast its cheap waltz
Hmm.
cast from the graveyard. So that would be
Yeah.
the hope or ideal of how these two things could work together in those sort of color overlaps.
Yeah. If I'm empty-handed and I gossip, I draw a card, which is instead this waltz, which immediately gets cast and never really hits my hand. And then I'm told to discard a card, but I don't have to. So I have like a way to kind of cheese it,
Hmm.
um, if I can set that up. Yeah, seems all right.
And we could cost.
I guess Obscure is the one that I have the least of a fix on flavor wise. Like, how are they as a family? Like, are they just different demeanor? Like, I don't, not many of the cards were very flavorful to me at the time.
Mhm.
Um, so there's probably room to fill in more of their niche in the world.
And that's one of the things I was thinking about. Well, let's lean into journalists and newsies sort of aspect because I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
a flavor space that's maybe a little underexplored compared to the we're doing heists and we're also messing with your memories and doing illusions to
Mm,
mess you up because that
mhm,
does end up feeling fairly demure. Comparing Gossip to Connive, we could cost, the rate at which you're getting Gossip differently. But
mm,
a question I would have is what kind of token is roughly equivalent to a +1/+1 counter, which Connive is draw a card, then discard a card. If you discarded a non-land card, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature.
mm. Yeah. I also don't remember too many of these cards. I mean, there was the
Hmm.
bird that was so good, but
Yeah, Ledger Shredder's a big
yeah,
deal.
I think there was like a 2/1 white creature that was pretty good. Hmm.
Speaking of Storm Scale 9
Oh, okay.
mechanics, Connive is not one of those. Connive
Yeah, I would
is
imagine that's like a 4 or 5. Yeah.
our last
Right.
two families have even simpler mechanics,
Oh, okay.
but one of
Hmm.
them is another Storm Scale 9
Uh-oh.
mechanic. It's a blast from the past. It is for the Riveteers, that's red green with some black.
Hmm.
The mechanic is provoke.
Oh.
Provoke, for those who don't know it, is when this creature attacks, you may have target creature defending player controls untap and block it if able.
Yeah, I have so little experience with provoke creatures. I have to think about that to speculate how well that might play out. Hmm.
This is a mechanic that I believe first and almost exclusively showed up in the set Legions,
Okay.
which was the all creatures
Uh.
small set a long time ago. And one of the reasons why it's now Storm Scale 9 is because fight exists.
Hmm.
And it's generally considered that, well, why would you ever use a provoke effect when you could use a fight effect? And that's hypothetically true, But I think there's space to carve out there, especially with how this does specifically interact with combat and other like attacking and blocking things.
Mm.
And in general, it's also a kind of perfect flavor fit for both the I bite my thumb, do you bite your thumb at me sort
Mm.
of
Yeah.
thing. And in most Romeo and Juliet stories, in Romeo and Juliet, West Side Story, etc., you have this pivotal thing where Romeo doesn't want to be attacking a whole bunch, but then like Tybalt and Mercutio have their whole thing, and then Romeo goes and kills somebody, and then it's like, ooh, this
Well,
escalated more than I wanted
yeah.
it to, is kind of a hallmark of that, and also of mafia sort of stories where
Mm.
one side does something and then escalates it to the other side, and then you're kind of going back and forth and back and forth.
I mean, I think there's also probably room to like try provoke and then like tweak it and make a new twist on it or something if you
Mhm,
can find a way that that will fit in the set. I was looking over the existing provoke cards, of which there are not many. The only one
mhm.
that I even recognized was this Deathblade Elite, which is a 1 mana 1/1 with provoke, and they pay 2 mana to prevent all damage that would dealt 2 and against it. So it's like this decoy. It's like an alternative of a tapper almost on attacks.
Mhm.
And then the other ones, they really statted them down, even for the time. Um, they were seemingly kind of concerned about this mechanic, or valued it quite highly, which really makes me curious of how it works.
Yeah. I occasionally mention Feral Throwback as a
Oh,
card that showcases another mechanic that no one will ever remember,
there you go.
Amplify,
Yeah, yeah,
which is one where you reveal creatures that share creature type. In this case, I think all Feral Throwback at least is beasts. So it's like,
yeah,
hey, reveal beast cards from your hand. It comes in with extra, but it also has Provoke, which is part of what lets
yeah.
it hold its own on lots of boards.
Provoke being on half animals feels like a weird flavor choice to me. Like, are animals going out and provoking fights? I feel like provoke is like a taunt, like it's a you're antagonizing someone on purpose. This giant creature doesn't need to go provoke someone. It's already king of the jungle.
Onslaught was a weird time.
All right. Well, we got Feral Throwback Thursday, right? So well, we have to bring it back at some point.
And then hopefully keeping it simple with our last one, looking at the Cabaretti green and white with some red.
Yeah.
Uh, the mechanic I've got here is the real mechanic is what if we did big, expensive sorceries in the style of Prismari, but instead of
Mm,
being sorceries, they're expensive artifact food spells with like a
hmm.
big ETB or that sort of effect, and
Yeah.
you can cash them out like the magma opus, but for a food instead of a treasure. And
Mm,
that playing alongside a cabaret mechanic of feast, which is just behold a food. So
hmm.
reveal a food in your hand or choose a food you control. And so we could either have these big food cards in your hand waiting to be a haymaker, or your food tokens that are on the battlefield. And so trying to lean into, hey, big wedding feast. We're going to be
Yeah.
doing these
Great
these big
flavor.
parties. Yeah.
Um, I the niche of large foods as cards is new and fitting.
Mhm.
They aren't creatures, which means you can't get a ton of them in the set, maybe, but you could probably get up to 6. And then you have other cards that care about foods and other cards that make regular food tokens.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, the flavor is strong enough that it feels worth starting on. But like, unlike a clue or something else, just like if I have a deck that beholds food, I make one food and then I just behold the same food for the rest of the game.
Mhm.
So it's like a threshold one of something that's not really going away. I guess like what does a 5 mana food common do? Like a 4 and a green.
We could I'm looking at my list of I wrote out a whole bunch of food things, including manicotti manacles, which I think is very silly. Thinking about like, okay, unlimited breadsticks as like an elixir of immortality.
Okay. Yeah.
we could go, here's an open bar, that we're tapping people and
Mm,
different things. You could pretty easily make become immense style effects. You probably want to avoid fight mechanics, unfortunately, because provoke is sitting there
mm,
and is nearby. So you're
yeah.
probably going to avoid fight and lure, but maybe you could fit some of those in there. I think disenchants are really easy. I think a neck snap or an oblivion ring are all like pretty easy to make a common. So here's this food, and when it enters, destroy target tapped creature, or give it flash and,
Mm,
attacking or blocking creature, that
yeah.
sort of thing.
Or delicious meal that Oblivion rings someone because they love the meal. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So you're getting some of your sorcery spell effects that way. Well, I feel like we need a way to leverage separate foods or life gain or
Hmm.
something like that. Because yeah, I guess the main concern at this point, because the flavor is so good, and you could just do sorceries that are like technically artifacts and have some food, and that's all. That all is fine. But leaving around all this life gain, maybe it's fine, maybe it's not fine. But if you just do nothing with the life gain, that feels like you haven't completely wired that mechanic up. Um,
Right.
yeah,
One of the things that I wish I could fit the flavor for would be
yeah.
bringing forage back, which
Mm.
is to forage, exile 3 cards from your graveyard or sacrifice a food. And it's like, haha, I have a mechanic that mills 3 cards.
Mm.
And I have a mechanic that gets food around. But
Yeah.
you're right. Trying to figure out what color pair, or what colors want to lean into the life gain sort of side of things, and have, okay, here is the life gain deck versus,
Mm.
oh, here is the sacrifice an artifact. And so you can sacrifice your inkling tokens, or you could sacrifice a food once you've had this big, like, enters the battlefield effect,
Yeah.
rather than sacrificing it for life.
Hmm. One of the reasons food, they used it in Bloomborough or Lord of the Rings.
Hmm.
It's more of like just like a currency, like energy. Here's a thing that I'm going to generate and then spend somewhere else. And it seems a little harder to have that economy work out if some of the foods cost you like a third of a mana as a staple on, and some of the foods cost 5 mana. But maybe the 5 mana ones, most of the value is just the ETB, and then they sit around as a food um, later.
Hmm. And I think you can check out our recent episode on food cards
Yeah.
rather than token foods, where we talk about like Crovad Haunch and things like that. We instant noodles, right? In the Final Fantasy set, it's
Yep.
instant
Yep.
ramen,
Hmm.
and how you could do these kind of bigger effects with things, or just say, here's a top down kind of food design, and the flavor, haha, can carry things through. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of food in I, in my experience with the Italian peninsula
Sure.
and Italian American culture and weddings everywhere,
Yeah.
is that food is like a big deal.
Yeah.
And so kind of playing with that, I think, can be slightly more playful, and doing the, hey, I'm going to show off the ludicrous wealth that I have and try to like one up my social peers by having my daughter's wedding be bigger than your daughter's wedding, I think is
Yeah.
there's space there.
Yeah. And those cards would be fun and memorable and different. How to actually express my feast is bigger than your feast seems challenging, but other than that, like flavor wise, maybe the mechanics don't have to represent that. It's just more, what is the flavor of this character?
If you control the food with the largest mana value.
Meta value.
And so if you're the only one with any food, a
Yeah.
0 works.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like, a 2 beats all zeros. I don't know, maybe there's something there.
Hmm. I guess the rundown there, the recap before we get into a couple cards is we have Soul Bond, both a romantic soul bond and maybe like a organized crime bond. We have Gossip, which is a loot effect, and then if you discard a non-land, you get a little temporary flyer. You got Waltz, which is sort of your cool combo-y thing. You get to dredge it, but you have to immediately cast it, and it's gone after that. So it's one time dredges. Provoke, which is sort of proto fight, but maybe it's got some other angles to it. And then this like either big feast card or big food cards or feast to care about food for Cabaretti.
Yeah.
Is there any other kind of like setup we want to get into, or I guess we hit a lot of the flavor stuff along the way.
Yeah. My current plan was to use Kicker as just a way to get more multicolor on cards and have more
Mm.
cards playable without necessarily needing to do, here's 20, here's 20
Mm.
Naya gold cards that all
Yeah.
have 3 mana symbols in them and everything, and a way to help kind of spread some of the color where the pie doesn't fit as neatly.
Mm.
Like, white was able to connive originally, and the answer there is like, hey, this is a bend, it's not a break. It doesn't really disrupt what colorless is able to do in a way. So we're also seeing white looting here for the gossip with then kind of that payoff. It's like, okay, well, we can do that with here's this white card and then kicker into
Mm.
blue to do some
Yeah.
more looting for in order to get more gossip on more white cards, or in order to get more interaction between red and food, which that's
Mm.
a a design problem that lots of people have run into trying to do kind of food theme
Mm.
in various sets, like we saw in one of the early You Make the Packs.
Yeah, I think in Dominaria United there was like a really extensive use of kicker. I would say that it probably worked to make the games like different, but
Mhm.
they also make for quite wordy cards.
Sure.
Like the identity of individual cards, you kind of like at a glance, you don't remember what it does. You have to look at it again. Hmm.
Mhm.
I think we were talking maybe trying to knock out like a card design or two, or maybe just like sketches, not try to like get fully finalized cards, but just try to explore a little space with each of these mechanics before we get out of here.
Yeah, let's start from the bottom up. Let's go from the cabaret on our way up.
Okay. I just did the the sudden death Coliseum episode where we were like 3 minutes per card. And that kind of feels like we're at where we're going to be at here. We're going to spend just a little bit of time on a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. I am a little bit inspired by that episode here. So I'm
All right.
uh, okay. Pick one of the colors of cabaret, red, green, or white.
Let's do green.
So let's try to make a green big food card. Let's make this a uncommon and not a removal spell. Let's make this card advantage. Let's make this a
Mm.
green card selection or card advantage. What would be a good approach to that?
So that's probably either graveyardy stuff, which doesn't feel very green in this set, or like looking through the top for a couple, look at the top of your library for some lands or for lands or creatures or something like that.
Mm,
Um,
mhm, mhm.
we don't usually get the kind of expensive version of that in green, so that might be pretty novel. I think of like the 1 or 2 mana green card that lets you look for stuff. But if we have
Mhm.
like, hey, we have such a big feast that people are coming over to check it out, that might be pretty new.
Do we wanna look at, the top 4, top 6 for creatures, or do we want to pull
Mm.
lands? Do we wanna do a, like, explosive vegetation sort of food?
Oh, that's funny. Huh. The feast is like bursting out into the spare rooms of the venue.
Yeah, we're setting up additional this is like the catering. We're setting up
Okay.
banquet tables.
Yeah. Okay. Big ceremony is our card
Mhm.
here. Whether it's an artifact that has an ETB or whether it's a sorcery that like go rampant growth 2 lands and get 2 food tokens or something. I'm not sure what direction's better to go in.
I just had a mechanic idea, which is the opposite of what we're
Oh,
supposed to be doing here, which is focusing on card, which is
jot it down. Jot it down. I'm pausing the timer.
okay. Okay, what if instead we introduce a new artifact type
Oh,
called Feast? And
love
we
that.
have a bunch of cards that say like, "Hey, if you have a feast or food, or look for feast
Mm,
or food,
mm,
but we make the feast food themed, but also just like big elaborate ceremony themed.
mm. Okay.
And we make it do something other than gaining life so that we can have multiple different artifact things and so we can fit the red part in.
Mm,
What does a feast do that isn't life? Maybe it does treasure fixes, blood loots, maps explore.
yeah, yeah. There's the +1/+1 counter one, filling people up so that they're feeling strong.
Does a feast look it's be so wordy, but like look at the top number of like does it look for creatures on the top of your library? Or
Uh,
does a feast mill
yeah,
3 and return a creature milled this way to your hand? Why not? We're all
think
uh,
like something in the impulse for creatures zone, I think is pretty feisty.
I'm tentative on mill 3 and return a creature.
Oh man, that's we're stealing the maestro's juice though.
It's so short compared to like look at the top 3 cards of your library or top 4 or anything.
That's why we have a standard token. The Chocobo token's like 20 words of rules text or something
Okay.
crazy.
Okay, yeah. Look at the top 4 cards library. Is that too many on a token? Cascade for creatures. Discover a creature. Seek a
Yeah,
creature.
we're not refining right now. We're just getting the
Right.
sketch down.
Oh, wait. Got it. Look at the top some number of cards of your library. Let's call it 4 for now, but we'll
Yeah.
fix it later. Or reveal the top 4 cards of your library.
Hmm.
Mill the non-creature cards.
Oh, just filter them out. don't don't draw a card, but
Yeah.
just
And so then like you'll be drawing those next and so you can have them to discard for things. You're bringing more people to the top of your
yeah,
deck.
yeah.
Maybe it would be better if it was choose like before you look at it, choose land or non-land and like
Oh,
mill the alternative. But I think that would be too selective.
abundance. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, now we're going to use our remaining 51 seconds to design a card that uses this token.
Great. Yes. Or token or just sub. So it could be a big
Oh, sure.
feast.
Yeah.
It could be a 5 mana big ceremony. And so
Mm,
we say this finds you lands and it finds you creatures when you spend those lands. So
mm,
this is it. Yeah, yeah, we're doing card advantage.
mm.
Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Then you can spend on like this turn or future turns, spend 2 mana? That can't be enough. Yeah, but you're not drawing. Yeah. Spend 2 mana, tap, sacrifice this, look at your top cards,
Yeah.
mill the non creatures.
Feast. Yeah. So we're maybe either creating cards or making tokens with feast, and the act of feasting is the thing that lets you sacrifice itself, pay some mana to go look for a buddy.
Yeah.
All right. All right. What's our next from the bottom here?
Next from the bottom, we're looking at Provoke from the Riveteers. And Tim, I would love you to help me design a Provoke removal spell.
Oh, so you have to have a creature provoke another creature. All right. I guess for black and red, both those are pretty straightforward. You could just like destroy a creature, give a creature -2/-2, and your creature provokes it or something. If you've got your gang on one side, you got another gang on the other side. You're throwing some stuff at the other people. You're throwing rocks. You're throwing bricks or something. So the brick hits someone, and then a provoke happens.
Yeah. How do you feel about 1 and a black for a sorcery?
Yeah.
Target creature gains first strike, death touch, and provoke until end of turn.
So first strike, death touch, provoke. So it's going to be killing them. It's sort of a murder that you have to dedicate a creature to accomplishing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you come with that card idea ahead of time?
Never, never. And here's a great name for it too. Uh Spadassinocide.
Oh no. What are you doing to us? Spit
Uh-huh.
Spadass. I got no clue.
So, a practice seen around the time of the French Revolution, wherein a especially trained swordsman or duelist, typically a nobleman as a result of being especially well trained,
Mm,
would do something to socially insult someone who, let's say, was a particularly gifted political speaker, but
mm,
not as good of a sword fighter, so that the kind of victim here would then need to call for an honor duel with the more talented person so that the more talented person could murder them, like murder
mm.
a,
Yeah.
a political upstart in the
Okay.
process.
We're really just spreading some ancient vocabulary here. Is this like a real word, or this like a
I,
spadassin is like a sword wielder or something?
I'm like 99% sure it's a real word. Yeah. Spadassinocide, the act of coaxing someone, usually through insult, into initiating a swordsman duel and subsequently killing that person with superior skill so as to commit legal murder.
I think I would probably call it midnight hit, but we could call it spadassinocide.
Midnight hit. Midnight brawl? Midnight duel? Midnight duel. Yeah. Why not?
It's not really a duel. It's first strike death touch. That's not a duel.
Yeah, but they are meeting in combat. Like, you aren't just murdering them.
Well, my dagger is meeting their back while they're sleeping.
The other creature might have first strike too.
I guess that's true. They roll over and they've got a sword and they just like impale each other.
Uh-huh. I mean, what's more Romeo and Juliet than that, right?
Mm. All right. Next up, we got the Maestro's Waltz. These waltz cards seem pretty fun. You can design really grandiose ones, you can design simple ones, and I think that waltz is a naturally useful thing. Are there any sort of niches to it that are especially fun or that especially maestros-y?
Hmm. What if we just did a mono black card? What if we tried to make a blue red waltz card?
Yeah,
Do we
so
want to do blue top cost red waltz or red top cost blue
oh yeah.
waltz potentially?
So waltz probably has some meaning to the word, right? Is waltz? It's like slow.
So waltz is in like a count three time, like a three
Hmm,
four time is a
okay.
waltz. It's a 3-step dance. Waltz is also one of those really fun things that we think of as being very grandiose ballroom y,
Hmm.
but was initially introduced as the like risque dance.
Oh, because you get to snuggle right up with each other.
It was the
Okay.
scandalous
Yeah.
dance. It was, it's relatively fast moving and it's a couples dance and
Yeah.
all of these different things together. I I did wonder sometimes, I could conceivably make the Riveteers the waltz folk, and then it's a fun sequel to Blitz. First they had Blitz and now they have Waltz.
Okay.
But I don't think most people think of Waltz
Yeah.
as, yeah, that's the risque, that's the after you've had your time at society party, this like lower class charming boy takes you down to do the
Hmm.
like scandalous dance in the bar downstairs, and that's the waltz. Uh, that's not what most
Yeah.
people think of, so it
Yeah.
made sense to keep it with the
The
maestros.
pop culture sort of like a vampire would waltz. I don't know. And that's very
Mhm.
maestros. Maestros are,
Yeah, a vampire waltzes, but a
yeah.
werewolf doesn't.
Except in my new fanfic, no.
I mean, that would be a pretty good young adult title, I think. A vampire waltzes, but a werewolf doesn't.
Yeah, you got it. You nailed it.
It's like,
There's the trend of the long book name, right? We
mhm.
we borrowed it from like Japanese light novels and stuff, and now it's over here.
And a little bit of like vampires don't drink lemonade, I think, or whatever that.
Oh,
You remember like those kids books?
I didn't know that one.
Yeah. Anyways.
That's the way to detect vampires. All right. Well, I'm starting the clock for our either blue or red or blue and red card. I guess we just had like a Sorcerer's Schemes, which is a super fun card in Final Fantasy, which was like a pull an instant or sorcery from either your graveyard or exile, and then it has flashback, so it's like awesome to do twice. We
Hmm.
could do a twist on that. I mean, you could just copy paste the homework there, but we could also do a twist there because that's sort of like thinking and moving, and you get to play a whole variety of these waltz cards if you use that card. I guess a waltz is sort of like incapacitating those creatures for a period of time, so it could even be like a long dance would be like a stun counter card.
What would be a good thing for showing off? As thinking about kind of merging like top-down flavor into things, because I do think that would be a big part of kind of the Maestros Riveteers and Cabaretti parts of things are
Yeah.
competitive show-offiness of as that is part of what wedding culture has been historically
Yeah, yeah.
is this kind of thing. Or of people meeting together for the first time, I guess would be another, like, when Romeo and Juliet dance together for the first time.
Oh. Yeah. I'm
Hmm.
a little hesitant to do like a creature thing because it feels like this is the least creature, or like my creature's the coolest creature. Maybe something about like your biggest instances sorceries that you've cast. Like, I don't know why I'm in the value mode. I think just the sorceress
Mhm.
card is putting me there.
You were mentioning creatures, and I wonder, could we do, like, a heat shimmer that
I'll make a
you can
copy.
then yeah, you can
Okay.
do another version of?
Yeah. Because that could be blue or red. Yeah. If you think of a waltzing duo, like you could either make both of them a copy, like you could copy two different creatures. You could heat shimmer two creatures at the same time. Maybe that's more of a rare, but it would be
Yeah.
new.
I mean, we can do a rare. There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with do you wanna start it red, or do you wanna is there a way to make it stick ar 'cause if you wanna stick around, then, like, if you waltz this, don't sacrifice it or something?
Yeah. Well, we saw in like there was Esper Origins in Final Fantasy, which was like surveil and gain some life with flashback. When you flash it back, also flip that card over. There's a guy on the other side.
Right.
So you could have like to get the blue and the red versions, there could be one version that's permanent, one version that's temporary, and that's why sometimes it's blue and sometimes it's red.
Yeah.
Like the friend side could be red, and you know 3 or 4 mana, and then the blue flashback could be 7 or something, and you get to keep them.
So what if we did the blue one first and it sticks around, and then the red one, you can get this, like, burst of a single copy
Hmm.
that's dashing in? 2
Yeah.
and a blue, and then, like, I don't know.
Yeah. I guess if you're doing like if you're making one dance partner, one illusionary dance partner or whatever, that could cost probably 4 mana on the front and then like 2 mana on the back for the red version. That's also fun to play on the same turn or on separate turns.
Yeah. Yeah. This works.
Very playable card.
Okay, now getting into gossip with our Esper,
Hmm.
different Esper than the Esper Origins.
Uh-oh.
White, blue, black. Do you wanna pick a color or a rarity?
Yeah. Yeah, let's get a feel for what a common would be. I'm not sure what color I want yet.
Let's do a common creature with gossip.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm thinking of like a cute girl at a wedding who's gossiping.
Okay. Getting all the hot gossip, all the hot deets, because I mean,
Yeah,
people come to weddings and they wanna talk about things, and so
yeah,
wedding side scoop, bride party journalist.
yeah. Some people are doing it just for the love of the game. They're not even a journalist. They just
Sure. Listen, I don't think either of us have seen the show in any capacity. I would bet. What if we do a Gossip Girl? You know,
just call the card Gossip Girl.
she's not a journalist, but she does like get the rumors and then spread them. That's that kind of like information broker idea, but just not necessarily in an institutional form, just as a
Yeah,
personal
yeah,
the
yeah.
the magic equivalent of a blog.
Yeah, that seems great. Yeah, I really like that flavor. I think that's also the kind of card people open the pack and like, ah, ha, ha. What else was on Capenna? I guess there were the cephalids, the octopus people,
Yeah, let's do an octopus.
and then having like a cute girl octopus. I think is like kind of charming.
And like making a little inkling. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
she could be like
Oh,
she's got a little pen that like
wow.
the ink like comes out of her hand into the
Yeah.
pen onto the
Wow.
page, and
Wow.
so we see her like sitting at a table like nodding appreciatively
Mm,
to someone
mhm.
while like this centerpiece hides the fact that she's writing everything they're saying,
Yeah, yeah,
everything
yeah.
they're saying down.
This would default to blue for me.
Follow your heart, follow your instincts.
Hmm.
I think this feels blue.
Okay.
This could be citizen, this could be rogue. Like there's
Yeah.
something about like, hey, I'm keeping track of the things people say is I think a little bit
Yeah.
roguish. Looting is something that we can see at common, either as like a
Yeah.
damage trigger or as just merfolk looter. Tap, do this. Would we want to see gossip like that at common?
Um. Yeah. So like the previous connive card, there was like a just like a 1/2 that you just paid some mana to connive. This doesn't feel, or like just like ETB connive.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you can always do the like each enters or leaves.
Yeah. What if we do an enters or dies?
Yeah. 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 Would there be other reasons to blink in this set? I guess Soul Bond, we might want like 2 blink cards in this set, so we could do enters and leaves, or enters and dies, either way.
One of my things sketched out is that I think cloud shift sort of effects would be
Yeah.
surprisingly common so that you can get in or out of soul bond, or I've got 2 creatures on the battlefield and I'd like them to be soul bonded. It's like, great, here's a sorcery speed blink effect attached to one of these foods. It's like you do this thing and you can reset a creature basically.
Hmm. I think we're there. Like we just decide the size, like it could be 2 mana, 2/1, or 1/3, or something else. But this isn't your best thing to blink that you could possibly blink. You probably want to blink something else. But if you got too many blinks and not enough things to shoot, Gossip Girl would love to have your attention.
Yeah. Yeah. Finally, the Bant brokers with Soul Bond. This is also presumably going to be a creature. I do think there's space to do Soul Bond stuff with land and have like a cycle of chapels where
Oh.
you can play this, thing tapped or whatever, and like, hey, all your creatures of Soul Bond and paired
Hmm.
creatures you control get, +1/+0 when attacking or something like that. I think you could do some things in that space.
Mm-hmm.
But keeping it simple, let's design a new creature with soul bond, something that hasn't been done much outside
Yeah.
of I think
Yeah.
we got one in Modern Horizons 3.
I'm sure we got. And there's probably some random commander card. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think we haven't done white. Do we have a white card so far? I mean, one of the nice things about Soul Bond and using Soul Bond is that a lot of the space was not used up.
Mhm.
There was like a thing that gave +1/+1, a thing that gave +2/+2. But like none of the lopsided stuff, a +1 power, none of that got used. And a lot of the keywords weren't used either. I don't
Let's
know.
design an angel.
Oh,
We're doing
wow.
Angels and Demons, the Soul Bond set, except wait,
Okay.
no, we're doing it differently than the last time they did an Angels and Demons Soul Bond
Hmm.
set. Let's have
Okay.
an angel with Soul Bond.
Part of our flavor here is that we want this to not feel like I am giving you a divine mission. You have to go smite that bad guy. That's not the soul bond that we're looking for.
Right.
So we need something about it that conveys, at least in the flavor, maybe in the mechanics, that conveys this is more like, hey, the two of us, we're better together.
We're better together, or like you have that instant spark when you meet somebody at somebody's wedding, which means a year from now there'll be another wedding. You
Yeah.
have this sort of like cascading sort of effect. You can have
Hmm.
a manic angel dream girl instead of a manic pixie one.
Do we have boy angels on Capenna? Are we are we shattering
I would be open to it.
the stained glass ceiling here?
Yeah. Angel Twink.
All right, you said it. All right, I'm giving us 3 minutes. We got 3 minutes to make this card.
Okay, it should probably have flying.
Yeah, yeah. And I'd like to aim for sub rare to kind of prove to ourselves that we can make some sweet sub rare soul bond cards. So sub rare probably want to be giving abilities and maybe something minor.
I wonder if, there's the classic white flyer that jumps something else.
Hmm.
Probably not this exactly, but something like, hey, as long as this is paired,
Hmm.
when it attacks target attacking creature gets flying as well. And so we could kind of like aggressively set up the body, and you could pair it with another flyer and then boost something else. But instead of doing the like, well, we can't
Hmm.
give it flying because it can't get flying until it and its paired creature get flying. We could do kind of selfish pair in that way.
Yeah, I think there's maybe also room for the common-ish soul bonds to be more like bestow or whatever, where I have the ability, and then if I'm bonded, I give away my ability.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That would also take some of the pressure off of soul bond, which I didn't get into earlier, but was sometimes kind of tough, where you just didn't rip a creature, and now you just had this completely useless 4-mana 2/2 because it couldn't bond and become like a big yoked creature. I think there is probably some tropey stuff as well, to like the really dashing angel scooping up their date, Superman style, and taking them for a flight.
Sure. Yeah. I can show you the world sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shining, shimmering, splendid. We could throw back to original Capenna, I believe, and do here's 2 and a white for common angel. It's a 2/1 flyer,
Oh,
and has soul bond. And when a creature enters, if it paired with this, you gain 1 life and draw a
yeah,
card. But I don't think we need to be cutting that edge further
yeah.
cutting edge.
I think there was a soul bonder that gave flying, like it was a 1 mana 1/1 in blue. But I think if we do like a much bigger creature in white, that's going to feel different enough from the original, from Avacyn Restored.
Yeah, and like Wingcrafter didn't have flying until the other
Yeah,
creature came in. And I think, as you say, I think that's a pretty big difference.
yeah,
I'm liking. I think it'd be totally fine to switch it to this creature's pair has flying, but I
yeah.
think, hey, when this attacks, if it's paired, target attacking creature gets flying, because then it's like a lot of times you're attacking with that other creature, but not exclusively.
Hmm.
I think that that also fits into a pattern of card that we are familiar with. It doesn't let you
Yeah.
block on flying though, so maybe not, but
Hmm.
huh.
Yeah. I'm not 100% on that idea. We need to really establish that soul bond is cool, and soul bond instead being confusing by saying like, hey, I'm bonded, but I'm not giving anything to that person I'm bonded with. Instead, I'm helping that third creature. That, I don't know. Uh,
Mhm. Fair. Yeah.
maybe it's cool, maybe it's good, but I would rather just give the other guy flying, carry him away into the night.
That is a reasonable pushback. So,
Yeah.
as long as this creature is paired with another creature.
Its partner has flying. Or I guess partners already have rules meeting. No.
Yeah, it is. That is its soul partner. It's here's a great
It's
one.
soulmate.
People constantly mistook soul bond for soulbound.
Oh, okay.
So we just
Oh,
oh
no.
wait, what if we did call it soulmate instead of I was going to say let's call the partner the soulbound to make it really confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's say its soulmate has flying. Yeah,
Love it.
simple. It's a kind of way to get like a flying vigilance thing around, but without actually having flying vigilance at common here.
Can't you just imagine this angel like has descended, is like is the tips of his toes are on the balcony, and then the like person who you barely see in the foreground, like the angel is extending their hand to them. Come fly with me. Like it
Yeah.
feels like very romantic and like a good fit for what you're, and a naturally useful card.
Do you trust me? What? Do you
Exactly.
trust
Yeah.
me? Yes. Then jump. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you wanna put some power toughness cost to this
Ooh,
angel?
no, I don't. It seems difficult.
Who needs
Kind of
it?
big.
Who needs
4
it?
mana, 5 mana, something like that. That's where I
I'm
want to start.
thinking this is a 2 and a white 2/2.
Oh, okay. Well, it's your set.
Who knows? Who could say?
Yeah.
I think we might put a flying first strike 1 power creature somewhere around that can
Hmm.
block, that's like immune to gossip in that way. Just like, haha,
Oh.
put put something like that somewhere in the set as a someone has an impeccable reputation, so they can
Oh,
block
okay.
the little inkling creatures all day long.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
All right.
that's 5 cards.
Yeah, that's a good first blitz through this list of cards here. I think if people are interested in throwing in their own cards, you're interested in hearing them.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is very much in the exploratory
Yeah,
design stage vision.
yeah,
Which one goes first? Don't know. But like in practical, non
yeah.
whatever, non jargon sense. We're in the exploratory design stage where you try to find cool things and then
Hmm.
follow them through to another cool thing.
Yeah, maybe when the episode goes up, I'll make sure there's a couple channels in the Discord or threads in the episode channel where people can take a shot at a Soulbond card, at a Gossip card, stuff like that. That could be fun.
I think that's a great idea. Speaking of designing cards that we'll take a look at,
Mhm.
we've got a design challenge for the month of July.
I love this. Yeah, I just loved reading these out loud. That's like my number one directive to Juliet on these challenges. And
Mhm.
we've got July down. Design a card that taps other creatures. So this could be, like, hey, I'm going to reach out and tap you so that I can attack or whatever. But people have already been taking it in many other ways from that, using tapping as a cost or other things that you can do there. You just have to be tapping creatures. We got some bonus points on there. You snooze. You is in blue. Do it without blue mana directly. And then you lose. Give the card some drawback or double-edged sword. And yeah, always love to see these cards. I think tapping is like in a cool power level where it's not murdering a creature and it's not permanent. So it has to like have this kind of tempo component to it that is what we want in Magic. We want a lot of kind of temporary stuff, sequencing, all that kind of magic. Um, and that'll be due July 25th. If you want a third way to send us cards for us to look at, we've got a new channel. We've been doing these channel episodes where we'll have a channel up for a while, and then people submit cards, and then we'll look at them. This time around, we're doing kind of a new thing where you're going to be designing a card that goes in a specific cube. So we're looking for a green-white card that goes in this like specific legacy cube of Eric, who was on the podcast a couple weeks ago talking about Washington Cube Champs. Eric's got a cube that's been played a ton. He's spent a lot of time figuring out which cards to bring in, which cards to bring out, all that kind of stuff. And so what we're hoping to do is you're going to we'll all get some cards collected. You'll send us in some cards. And then Eric's just going to go through and sort of think, hey, why would I play this one? Would I have to sub out some other cards? And really get like nitty gritty on like exactly what would make this card a good fit for like a quite high power cube.
Selesnya is always one of those funny sort of things. There's a green white is its own restriction that breeds creativity.
Yeah, yeah. And like a lot of the Selesnya themes have not hit in like retail drafts for many of the most recent sets. And I think one of the other things about this challenge, this green white legacy almost vintage level cube, is that you can also maybe like not quite follow the rules of Magic design because a lot of the cards in that cube are maybe also the mistakes themselves. So if you want to design like, what if they accidentally printed this card 15 years ago in Rise of the Eldrazi and it just like broke multiple formats? Well, please give us that card. We would love to look at it.
What if
Um,
Channel was printed in Legends instead of Alpha Beta and was a
yeah.
green white card?
Yeah, yeah, it gained you life each time you cast a creature or something. Yeah, so get real nuts with it. Yeah, yeah. So looking forward to that. We'll have that up for a couple weeks. There's no due date on it yet. We'll probably collect 6 to 10 cards, and then we'll do the ep. So you got some time to get that in there. But I would love to see everyone's cards for that. I think this will be a very fun episode. But yeah, that's about it for the episode for the week. Hop on the Discord. Blah blah blah. That's what our action is. Anything else you want to tell people about?
Yeah, so if you are listening to this episode when it comes out or the week that it comes out, we have an exciting thing that I've been working on very hard alongside a lot of other people at the Moonshot Network. That is this Saturday, July 26th at 7:30 Eastern. We will be streaming at twitch.tv/Moonshot Network or moonshot.mov Sonic and the State of Denmark, our Sonic the Hedgehog adaptation of the tragedy of Hamlet, Prince of Denmark.
What is that? The full name of Hamlet?
Yeah, Hamlet is the tragedy of Hamlet, Prince of Denmark. Yeah,
that's how clueless I am.
Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. You know, Denmark's a prison to me.
Yeah, so that's Saturday. Is that
Saturday,
right?
Saturday evening.
Saturday evening. Okay.
Saturday evening. It will be fun. We're definitely going to be putting it up on YouTube and everything afterwards.
Okay,
but
okay. That's probably going to be me.
I'm really excited. It is an interesting hybrid of a lot of different things. You don't have to like sit through an act like a big work of theater. It is like a staged reading, if that makes sense.
All
but
right.
We've really pulled out the stakes or stops or however that phrase is along a lot of other angles, and I'm really excited. It's also, I think, going to be great for people who enjoy Shakespeare. Great for people who enjoy Sonic the Hedgehog. Great for people who have like a passing familiarity with those two things and just like things that are funny. And also an interesting dramaturgical reflection on Hamlet and kind of how the play of Hamlet works. And I mean, I'm interested in those things. I imagine there's a few people in our audience who would be interested in that as well. It is, the premise is basically in the style of Sonic and the Black Knight, the Sonic Storybook games from, I believe, the Nintendo Wii, where Sonic gets like isekai'd into these other stories. But using this as a exploration of Hamlet, it will be very funny. And I don't know, it might make you cry too. There's lots of more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy.
Is there like character voices? Is Sonic? It's going to be Sonic's personality. Like we're going to get. Okay, so it's not the exact words.
So the base premise is Sonic shows up. All of the characters are Sonic characters. All of them but Sonic are Hamlet characters and are saying, wow, Hamlet sure is acting weird and has this madness going on where he talks differently than all of us and keeps looking at all of us like we're ghosts in another person's body. And building it from there, you know, Dr. Robotnik, Eggman, that's Polonius. It all works together. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Tails and Knuckles. It's a great day to be alive, and I'm really excited for the show. And you can tune in at twitch.tv/Moonshot Network this Saturday at 7:30.
Is Riley in on that too? Hopkins?
Yes, This is
that's where we get the Sonic. That's where we get the Sonic juice. Okay, this is making sense.
Riley came to me with, I want to do this, and I was like, well, you be the the Sonic expert. I'll hand you this, and we've been working on it this whole year, so it's been awesome. It's been a doozy.
Wow, that sounds great. So Moonshot Twitch, that's what we're looking for.
Twitch.tv/Moonshot Network or moonshot.mov. That's also a link. That's one that is usually put on socials, but I'm like, some people just prefer to log into Twitch and know that it's Twitch and not just a link that's going to go somewhere.
Yeah,
or if you have like Twitch on your phone or something, just twitch.tv/Moonshot Network.
Sorry, I'm just getting over that URL right now. All right, yeah, I'll be checking that out, at least on YouTube. I don't know if I'll be able to make it live, but I'm looking forward to what you've concocted, as I always do. If you need to get in contact with either of us, Discord is the way to do that, and I hope to see you there. And thank you for listening.
And always remember, I say we shall have no more marriages. Those that are married already, all but one shall live. The rest shall keep as they are.